Hi there. Welcome to the Small Business Coffee Break, the video series where we take a few minutes to work on your business, not just in it. Today we talk with Stephanie Fortune about what are some reasons a small business might consider a professional employer organization. Stephanie has over 8 years of experience as a PEO consultant and started her own firm, Fortune Business Consulting, in 2018. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get into it. But having those understanding that these things exist for a reason, and you will be in a better place if you have all of the information. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for small businesses to even consider it and say, hey, look, is this something I want to do?
Correct. Yeah.
For the growth of my business, versus trying to do it in-house and save all of the pennies.
Yeah, and even looking at that part of it, right? So you might have a smaller business that's just getting started. They have scale in mind, like you mentioned. You want to think about scalability. You want to be able to kind of, and again, even looking at last year, scaling upwards, but also scaling downwards when need be, right? So a lot of times, if you're looking to bring in internally an HR professional, a payroll professional, risk manager, these things cost, right? So depending on the level of expertise, so on and so forth, you're talking easily between $40,000, $50,000 to upwards of the hundred, or close to 100,000, depending on, again, the level of expertise.
Or more than 100,000.
So
I know a few.
I'm being conservative here.
Yeah.
So if you really think about the level of expertise that come in these different areas, even in terms of that, it makes sense. And beyond that, like you mentioned, I know like one law firm that I work with. Right now they have 5 or 6 employees, but when they first started, they only had 2, right? So it was just the 2 owners, but they did want to have benefits, right? They did want certain things that they can have for themselves. So oftentimes it's thinking about things like that, in addition to, trying to be cost effective, trying to do this, trying to do that, but looking at it, the whole picture, so to speak. And so like you mentioned, with scale in mind, it helps to provide that support. And that's one thing that, I know sometimes PEOs are a hard pill to swallow, but I can absolutely say last year it painted so clearly the value of a PEO, because there's so many businesses that lost PPP money because they couldn't figure out the documentation, they didn't have good record keeping, so on and so forth. And I don't remember the statistics right now, but clients within a PEO environment just fare so much better in comparison to their counterparts outside of a PEO environment, because they got the proper documentation, they got larger sums of funds, in addition to getting it faster. And so for me, it's like, sometimes we may not necessarily want to make a certain investment, but it could absolutely be one of the best things for us. And I think of insurance in that same manner, where oftentimes we don't want to be forced to use it. Sometimes we begrudgingly pay for it and get it, but it's absolutely a value add.
I pay my premiums to an insurance agent, so I can complain about my premiums too, just like everybody else.
Right. And I was in a car accident just 3 weeks ago, and so I know that I'm going through the experience right now, right? But I'm thankful that I have the insurance. I'm thankful for that I have good coverage and everything, because again, it all goes to show that, hey, look, we may not always necessarily want it, be upset about how much we're paying, so on and so forth, but when we need it, it's there.
Let's keep the conversation going. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Stephanie, ask it in the comments, or her contact information is in the description. If you have any questions you'd like me to ask Stephanie or any other professional in their field, my contact information is also in the description, and I'm always available through a direct message. See you next week for another cup of coffee and more questions answered.